Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Pando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneswari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyvari Pashatare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Haribol. So today we continue from chapter 5.4, the ultimate yoga. In this 1969 discourse, Srila Prabhupada focuses on the perfected stage of yoga practice. According to ancient Vedic teachings, the yoga system, beginning with Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, physical exercise and breath control, and Karma Yoga, culminates in Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, to the personality of Godhead. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that one has surpassed all other yogas, says Srila Prabhupada. And the test of one's mastery of Bhakti Yoga is based on how much one is developing one's love for God. Yoginam api sarvesham madkat tenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktata yuktata mataha. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinking of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Bhagavad Gita 6:47. Here it is clearly stated that out of all the different kinds of yogis, the Ashtanga yogi, the Hatha yogi, the Jnana yogi, the Karma yogi, and the Bhakti yogi is on the highest platform of yoga. Krishna directly says, of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Since Krishna is speaking, the words in me means in Krishna. In other words, if one wants to become a perfect yogi on the highest platform, one should keep oneself in Krishna consciousness. In this regard, the word bhajate in this verse is significant. Bhajate has its roots in the word bhaj, which is used to indicate devotional service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaja. To worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to a worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod and be called merely discourteous. Discourteous. Okay, let's see. Now let's check how is this word said.
Discourteous.
What?
Discourteous.
Discourteous. What it means? Showing rudeness and lack of consideration for other people. Discourteous.
Discourteous.
But one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being truly condemned. So worship is very different from devotional service. Worship involves some selfish motive. We may worship some very big businessman because we know that if we please him, he may give us some business and we'll derive some profit. The worship of the demigods is like that. People often worship one of the demigods for some particular purpose, but this is condemned in Bhagavad Gita 7:20. Kamaista hridagyana prapadyante devataha. Those who have lost their sense and are bewildered by lust worship demigods with a selfish motive. Thus, when we speak of worship, there is a selfish motive, but when we speak of devotional service, there is no motive except the desire to please the beloved. Devotional service is based on love. For example, when a mother renders service to her child, there is no personal motive. She serves only out of love. Therefore, everyone else may neglect the child, but the mother cannot because she loves him. Similarly, when there is a question of service to God, there should be no question of a personal motive. That is perfect Krishna consciousness, and that is recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-6. In the description of the first-class system of religious principles, Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhaktiradokshaje, the first-class system of religious principles is that which enables one to develop one's God consciousness or love of God. If one can develop one's love for God, one may follow any religious principle. It doesn't matter. But the test is how much one is developing one's love for God. But if one has some personal motive and thinks, by practicing this system of religion, my material necessities will be fulfilled, that is not first-class religion. That is third-class religion. First-class religion is that by which one can develop one's love of God. And that love must be without any personal motive and without any impediment. Athaitu kya pratihata. That is first-class religion as recommended here by Krishna in this final verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna consciousness is the perfection of yoga, but even if one looks at it from a religious viewpoint, it is first class because it is performed with no personal motive. My disciples are not serving Krishna so that he will supply them with this or that. There may be this or that, but that doesn't matter. Of course, there is no scarcity. Devotees get everything they need. We shouldn't think that by becoming Krishna consciousness, one becomes poor. No. If Krishna is there, everything is there because Krishna is everything. But we shouldn't make any business with Krishna. Krishna, give me this, give me that. Krishna knows what we require better than we do. Just as a father knows the necessities of his child, why should we ask? Since God is all powerful, he knows our wants and he knows our necessities. That is confirmed in the Vedas. Ego bahunam yo vidadati kaman. God is supplying all the necessities of the innumerable living entities. We should simply try to love God without demanding anything. All needs will be supplied. Even the cats and dogs are getting their necessities. They don't go to church and ask God for anything, but they are getting their necessities. So why should a devotee not get his necessities? If the cats and dogs can get their necessities of life without demanding anything from God, why should we demand from God? Give me this, give me that. No, we should simply try to love him and serve him. That will fulfill everything. And that is the highest platform of yoga. Service to God is natural. Since I am part and parcel of God, my natural duty is to serve him. The example of the finger and the body is appropriate. The finger is part and parcel of the body. And what is the duty of the finger? To serve the whole body. That's all. If you're feeling some itch, immediately your finger is working. If you want to see, your eyes immediately work. If you want to go somewhere, your legs immediately take you there. So the bodily parts and limbs are helping the whole body. Similarly, we are all part and parcel of God, and we are all meant simply for rendering service to him. When the limbs of the body serve the whole body, the energy automatically comes to the limbs. Similarly, when we serve Krishna, we get all of our necessities automatically. Yatha taror mula nishechanena. If one pours water on the root of a tree, the energy is immediately supplied to the leaves, twigs, and branches, and so on. Similarly, simply by serving Krishna or God, we serve all other parts of creation. There is no question of serving each living entity separately. Another point is that by serving God, we will automatically have sympathy for all living entities, not only for human beings, but even for animals. Therefore, God consciousness, Krishna consciousness is the perfection of religion. Without Krishna consciousness, or sympathy for other living entities is very limited, but with Krishna consciousness, or sympathy for other living entities is full. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.3 confirms this as follows. Yayesham Purusham Sakshat Atma Prabhavam Ishvaram Nabhajantya Vajananti Stanad Brashta Patant Yadaha. Anyone who neglects his duty and does not render service unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. How do we fall down from our constitutional position? Once again, the example of the finger and the body is appropriate. If one's finger becomes diseased and cannot render service to the whole body, it simply gives one pain. Similarly, any person who is not rendering service to the Supreme Lord is simply disturbing him, giving him pain and trouble. Therefore, such a person has to suffer just like a man who is not abiding by the laws of the state. Such a criminal simply gives pain to the government and is liable to be punished. He may think, I am a very good man, but because he's violating the laws of the state, he's simply torturing the government. This is easy to understand. So any living entity who is not serving Krishna is causing him a kind of pain, and that is sinful. To make Krishna feel pain, just as the government collects all the painful citizens and keeps them in the prison house, you criminals must live here, so you cannot disturb people in the open state. So God puts all the criminals who have violated his laws, who have simply given him pain, into this material world. Stanad brashtaha patantyadaha. Patantyadaha. They fall down from their constitutional position in the spiritual world. Again, when we may cite the example of the finger, if your finger is extremely painful, the doctor may advise, Mr. So-and-so, your finger has to be amputated, otherwise it will pollute your whole body. Stanad how is this said? Stanad brashta patantyadaha. The finger then falls down from its constitutional position as part of the body. Having rebelled against the principles of God consciousness, we have all fallen down to this material world. If we want to revive our original position, we must again establish ourselves in the service attitude. That is the perfect cure. Otherwise, we shall suffer pain, and God will be suffering pain on account of us. We are just like bad sons of God. If a son is not good, he suffers, and the father suffers along with the son. Similarly, when we are suffering, God is also suffering. Therefore, the best thing is to revive our original Krishna consciousness and engage in the service of the Lord. The word avajananti, used in the verse cited from Srimad Bhagavatam, is also used by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme domination over all that be. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. The word muda means fool or rascal. Only a rascal does not care for Krishna. Not knowing that he will suffer for this attitude, he dares neglect him. Without knowing the supreme position of the Lord, the rascals worship some cheap god. God has become so cheap that many people say, I am God, you are God. But what is the meaning of the word God? If everyone is God, then what is the meaning of God? So the word avajananti is very appropriate. Avajananti means neglectful, and it perfectly describes the person who says, what is God? I am God. Why should I serve God? This is avajananti, neglecting God's real position. A criminal may have the same attitude toward the government. Oh, what is government? I can do whatever I like. I don't care for the government. This is avajananti. But even if we say, I don't care for the government, the police department is there. It will give us pain. It will punish us. Similarly, even if we don't care for God, the material nature will punish us with birth, old age, disease, and death. To get out of this suffering, we must practice yoga. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in bhakti yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti yoga. Yoga actually means bhakti yoga. All other yogas are progression towards this destination. From the beginning of karma yoga to the end of bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga, executed without fruitive desires, is the beginning of this path. Fruitive activities or karma include sinful activities also. Karma yoga, however, does not include sinful activities, but only good, pious activities or prescribed activities. This is karma yoga. Then, when karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called jnana yoga. When jnana yoga increases in meditation on the super soul by various physical processes, and when the mind is on him, one has reached the stage called ashtanga yoga. And when one surpasses ashtanga yoga and comes to the point of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one has reached bhakti yoga, the culmination. Factually, bhakti yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze bhakti yoga minutely, one has to understand these other minor yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal auspiciousness, whereas one who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by the particular name karma yogi, jnana yogi, or ashtanga yogi. But if one is fortunate enough to come to the point of bhakti yoga, it is to be understood that one has surpassed all the other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of the Himalayas, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered the culmination. If someone practicing jnana yoga thinks that he is finished, that is wrong. He has to make further progress. For example, suppose you want to go to the highest floor of a building, say the 100th floor. By walking up a staircase, you will pass the 30th floor, the 40th, the 50th floor, the 80th floor, and so on. But suppose when you come to the 50th or 80th floor, you think, I have reached my goal. Then you are unsuccessful. To reach your destination, you have to go to the 100th floor. Similarly, all the processes of yoga are connected like staircase, but we shouldn't be satisfied to stop on the 50th floor or the 80th floor. We should go to the highest platform, the 100th floor, pure Krishna consciousness. Now, if somebody who wants to reach the 100th floor is given a chance to use the elevator, within a minute he will be able to come to the top. Of course, he may still say, why should I take advantage of this elevator? I shall go step by step. He can do this, but there's a chance he will not reach the top floor. Similarly, if one takes help from the elevator of Bhakti Yoga, within a short time he can reach the 100th floor, the perfection of yoga, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the direct process. You may go step by step, following all the other yoga systems, or you may take directly to Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya has recommended that this age, since people are very short-lived, disturbed, and full of anxiety, they should take up to the direct process. And by his grace, by his causeless mercy, he has given us the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which lifts us immediately to the platform of Bhakti Yoga. It is immediate, we don't have to wait. That is the special gift of Lord Chaitanya. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami prayed, Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, Madhya Leela, 1953. O Lord Chaitanya, you are the most munificent incarnation because you are directly giving love of Krishna. Ordinarily, to attain love of Krishna, one has to pass through so many steps and stages of yoga, but Lord Chaitanya gave it directly. Therefore, he is the most munificent incarnation. This is the position of Lord Chaitanya. The only way to know God in truth is through Bhakti Yoga. In Bhagavad Gita 18:55, Krishna confirms this. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan chashmi tatvataha. Only by devotional service can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. The Vedas confirm that only through bhakti yoga or devotional service one can attain the highest perfectional stage. If one practices other yoga systems, there must be a mixture of bhakti if one is to make any progress. But because people don't have sufficient time to execute all the practices of any other yoga system, the direct process of bhakti yoga, unadulterated devotion, is recommended for this age. Therefore, it is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness, the path of Bhakti Yoga, and becomes well situated according to the Vedic directions. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower-garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. He incarnates in different forms, such as Rama, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He descends as human being, as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. One who remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord is the highest yogi. This stage of perfection in yoga can be attained only by bhakti yoga, as confirmed in all Vedic literature. Ribol. Okay, Prabhu, you can start the next chapter. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhu. 6.1 Focus for Global Unity. December 1969. Speaking in Boston before the International Student Society, Srila Prabhupada provides a practical, simple, yet profound solution for world peace and harmony. Noting the increasing number of flags at the United Nations building in New York, he stated that inert nationalism is failing because your international feeling and my international feeling are overlapping and conflicting. We have to find the proper center for our loving feelings. That center is Krishna. Thank you very much for participating with us in this Krishna consciousness movement. I understand that this society is known as the International Student Society. There are many other international societies, such as the United Nations. So the idea of an international society is very nice, but we must try to understand what the central idea of an international society should be. If you throw a stone into the middle of a pool of water, a circle will expand to the limit of the bank. Similarly, radio waves expand in a circle, and when you capture the waves with your radio, you can hear the message. In the same way, our loving feeling also can expand. At the beginning of our life, we simply want to eat. Whatever a small child grabs, he wants to eat. He has only personal interest. Then, when the child grows a little, he tries to participate with his brothers and sisters. All right, you also take a little. This is an increase in the feeling of fellowship. Then as he grows up, he begins to feel some love for his parents. Right? Then for his community, then for his country, and at last for all nations. But unless the center is right, the expansion of feeling, even if it's national or international, is not perfect. For example, the meaning of the word national is one who has taken birth in a particular country. You feel for other Americans because they are born in this country. You may even sacrifice your life for your countrymen. But there is a defect. If the definition of a national is one who is born in a particular country, then why are the animals born in America not considered Americans? The problem is that we are not expanding our feelings beyond the human society. Because we don't think the animals are our countrymen, we send them to the slaughterhouse. So the center of our national feeling or international feeling is not fixed on the proper object. If the center is right, then you can draw any number of circles around that center, and they'll never overlap. They'll simply keep growing, growing, growing. They'll not intersect with one another. If the center is all right, unfortunately, although everyone is feeling nationally or internationally, the center is missing. Therefore, your international feeling and my international feeling, your international feeling and my national feeling are overlapping and conflicting. So we have to find the proper center for our loving feelings. Then you can expand your circle of feelings and it will not overlap or conflict with others. That center is Krishna. Our society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is teaching the people of all countries that the center of the affection should be Krishna. In other words, we are teaching people to be Mahatmas. You may have heard this word Mahatma before. It is a Sanskrit word that is applied to a person whose mind is expanded, whose circle of feelings is very much expanded. This is a Mahatma. Maha means big or great, and Atma means soul. So he who has expanded his soul very wide is called Mahatma. The Bhagavad Gita 7:19 gives a description of the person who has expanded his feelings very wide. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavamam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. The first idea in this verse is that one can become a Mahatma or only after many, many births. Bahunam janmanam ante. The soul is transmigrating to many bodies, one after another. There are 8.4 million different species of life, and we evolved through them until at last we come to the human form of life. Only then can we become a Mahatma. This is why Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante. After many, many births, one can become a Mahatma. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a similar verse. Labdva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante. After many, many births, you have achieved a human body, which is very difficult to get. This human form of life is not cheap. The bodies of cats and dogs and other animals are cheap, but this human form is not cheap. After being born in at least 8 million different species, we get this human form. So the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita say the same thing. All Vedic literatures corroborate one another, and the person who can understand them doesn't find any contradiction. So the human form of life is obtained after many, many births in other than human forms of life. But even if this human form of life, many, many births are required for one who is cultivating knowledge of the central point of existence. If one is actually cultivating spiritual knowledge, not in one life, but in many, many lives, one eventually comes to the highest platform of knowledge and is called Jnanavan, the possessor of the true knowledge. Then Krishna says, Mam prapadyate, he surrenders unto me, Krishna or God. When I say Krishna, I mean the Supreme Lord, the all-attractive Supreme Person of Godhead. Now, why does a man in knowledge surrender to Krishna, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Bhagavad Gita 7:19? Because he knows that Vasudeva, Krishna, is everything, that he is the central point of all loving feelings. Then Samahatma Sudurlabha. Here the word Mahatma is used. After cultivating knowledge for many, many births, a person who expands his consciousness up to the point of loving God, he is a Mahatma, a great soul. God is great, and his devotees is also great. But Krishna says, Samahatma Sudurlabha. That sort of great soul is very rarely to be seen. This is the description of a Mahatma we get from the Bhagavad Gita. Now we have expanded our feelings of love to various objects. We may love our country, we may love our community, we may love our family, we may love our cats and dogs. In any case, we have love, and we expand it according to our knowledge. And when our knowledge is perfect, we come to the point of loving Krishna, that is perfection. Love of Krishna is the aim of all activities, the aim of life. The Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-8 confirms that the goal of life is Krishna. Dharma svanushtita pumsam visvakshena katha suyaha notpadayet yadiratim shrama evahi kevalam. The first words in this verse are Dharma svanushtitaha pumsam. This means that everyone is doing his duty according to his position. A householder has some duty. A sannyasi, renunciant, has some duty. A brahmachari, celibate student, has some duty. There are different types of duties according to different occupations or professions. But the Bhagavatam says, if by performing your duties very nicely you still do not come to the understanding of Krishna, then whatever you have done is simply useless labor. Shrama eva hi kevalam. So if you want to come to the point of perfection, you should try to understand and love Krishna. Then your national or international feelings of love will actually expand to their limit. Now suppose a man says, yes, I have expanded my feelings of love very widely. That is all right, but we must show the symptoms of how his feelings of love are expanded. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 5:18, Vitya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini sunichaiva svapake cha pandita samadarshinaha. If one is actually a pandit, someone who is elevated to the stage of perfect wisdom, then he must see everyone on an equal platform, samadarshinaha. Because the vision of a pandit is no longer absorbed simply with the body. He sees a learned Brahmana as a spirit soul. He sees a dog as a spirit soul, and he sees an elephant as a spirit soul. And he also sees a low-born man as a spirit soul. From the high-born Brahmana down to the Chandala, outcast. There are many social classes in human society, but if a man is learned, he sees everyone, every living entity on the same level. That is the stage of true learning. We are trying to expand our feelings socially, communally, nationally, internationally, or universally. That is our natural function, to expand our consciousness. But my point is that if we actually want to expand our consciousness to the utmost, we must find out the real center of existence. That center is Krishna or God. How do we know Krishna is God? Krishna declares himself to be God in the Bhagavad Gita. Please always remember that the Krishna consciousness movement is based on understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is. Whenever I am speaking, whatever I am speaking is in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, the Bhagavad Gita has been misinterpreted by so many commentators that people have misunderstood it. Actually, the purport of the Bhagavad Gita is to develop Krishna consciousness, love of Krishna, and we are trying to teach that. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has given several descriptions of Mahatma. He says, Mahatmas tumam parta daivim prakritim ashritaha, Bhagavad Gita 9:13. A Mahatma, one who is actually wise and broad-minded, is under the shelter of my spiritual energy. He is no longer under the spell of the material energy. Whatever we see is made up of various energies of God. In the Upanishad, it is said, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. The Supreme Absolute Truth has many varieties of energies, and these energies are acting so nicely that it appears that they're working automatically. Svabhaiviki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. For example, we have all seen a blooming flower. We may think that it has automatically blossomed and become so beautiful, but no, the material energy of God is acting. Similarly, Krishna has a spiritual energy, and the Mahatma, one who is broad-minded, is under the protection of that spiritual energy. He's not under the spell of the material energy. These things are all explained in the Bhagavad Gita. There are many verses in the Bhagavad Gita that describe how Krishna's energies are working, and our mission is to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any nonsensical commentary. There is no need of nonsensical commentary. Bhagavad Gita is as clear as the sunlight. Just as you don't require a lamp to see the sun, you don't require the commentary of an ignorant common man to study the Bhagavad Gita. You should study the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then you will get all spiritual knowledge. You will become wise and will understand Krishna. Then you will surrender to him and become a Mahatma. Now, what are the activities of a Mahatma? A Mahatma is under the protection of Krishna's spiritual energy. But what is the symptom of that protection? Krishna says, Mam bhajantyan bhajantyananya manasaha. A Mahatma is always engaged in devotional service to me. That is the main symptom of Mahatma. He is always serving Krishna. So does he engage in this devotional service blindly? No. Krishna says, Gyantva bhutadim avyayam. He knows perfectly that I am the source of everything. So Krishna explains everything in the Bhagavad Gita. And our purpose in the Krishna consciousness movement is to spread the knowledge contained in the Bhagavad Gita without adding any nonsensical commentary. Then the human society will profit from this knowledge. Now society is not in a sound condition, but if people understand the Bhagavad Gita and if they actually broaden their outlook, all social, national, and international problems will be solved automatically. There will be no difficulty. But if we don't find out what the center of existence is, if we manufacture our own ways to expand our loving feelings, there will be only conflict, not only between individual persons, but between different nations of the world. The nations are trying to be united. In your country, there is the United Nations. Unfortunately, instead of the nations becoming united, the flags are increasing. Similarly, India was once a country, Hindustan. Now there is also Pakistan. And sometime in the future, there will be Sikhistan and some other stan. Instead of becoming united, we are becoming disunited because we are missing the center. Therefore, my request, since you are all international students, is that you please try to find out real center of your international movement. Real international feeling will be possible when you understand that the center is Krishna. Then your international movement will be perfect. In the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 14.4, Lord Krishna says, Sarva yoni sukonteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma mahajonir aham bija pradah pita. Here Krishna says, I am the father of all forms of life. The material nature is the mother, and I'm the seed-giving father. Without a father and mother, nobody can be born. The father gives the seed, and the mother supplies the body. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Garuda Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. If you want to read, you can also continue from this part. There is 2 pages left. Okay, Haribol, I can also read. In this material world, the mother of every one of us, from Lord Brahma, yes, Prabhu, no problem, down to the ants, is the material nature. Our body is matter, therefore it is a gift of the material nature, or mother. But I, the spirit soul, am part and parcel of the Supreme Father, Krishna. Krishna says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Bhuta, 15.7. All these living entities are part and parcel of me. So if you want to broaden your feelings of fellowship to the utmost limit, please try to understand the Bhagavad Gita. You'll get enlightenment. You'll become a real Mahatma. You will feel affection even for the cats and dogs and reptiles. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll find a statement by Narad Muni that if there is a snake in your house, you should give it something to eat. Just see how your feelings can expand. You'll care even for a snake, what to speak of other animals and human beings. Oh, Krishna, that is scary. What I would feed to the snake. Will it take banana? Or maybe laddu? Some nice laddu for the snake. Oh yeah, we should not imitate this stage. Yeah, the snake would eat me. That is scary. So we cannot become enlightened unless we come to the point of understanding God or Krishna. Therefore, we are preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. The Krishna consciousness movement is not new. As I told you, It is based on the principles of the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavad Gita is an ancient scripture. From the historical point of view, it is 5,000 years old. And from a prehistorical point of view, it is millions of years old. Krishna says in the 4th chapter, Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Bhagavad Gita 4.1. I first spoke this ancient science of yoga to the sun god. That means Krishna first spoke the Bhagavad Gita some millions of years ago. But simply from a historical point of view, Bhagavad Gita has existed since the days of the Battle of Kurukshetra, which was fought 5,000 years ago. It is older than any other scripture in the world. Try to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any unnecessary commentary. The words of the Bhagavad Gita are sufficient to give you enlightenment. But unfortunately, people have taken advantage of the popularity of the Bhagavad Gita and have tried to express their own philosophy under the shelter of the Bhagavad Gita. That is useless. Try to understand the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Then you will get enlightenment. You will understand that Krishna is the center of all activities. And if you become Krishna conscious, everything will be perfect and all problems will be solved. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Indian student. I don't know the exact Sanskrit from the Gita, but somehow Krishna says, all roads lead to me, no matter what one does, no matter what one thinks, no matter what one is involved with, eventually he will evolve toward me. So is enlightenment a natural evolution? Prabhupada, no, Krishna never says that whatever you do, whatever you think, you will naturally evolve toward him. To become enlightened in Krishna consciousness is not natural for the conditioned soul. You require instruction from a spiritual master. Otherwise, why did Krishna instruct Arjuna? You have to get knowledge from a superior person and follow his instructions. Arjuna was perplexed. He could not understand whether he should fight or not. Similarly, everyone in the material world is perplexed. So we require guidance from Krishna or his bona fide representative. Then we can become enlightened. Evolution is natural up through the animal species. But when one comes to the human form of life, we can use our own discretion. As you like, you make your choice of which path to follow. If you like Krishna, you can go to Krishna. If you like something else, you can go there. That depends on your discretion. How is this word saying? This.
Discretion.
Discretion. Discretion. On your discretion. Everyone has a little bit of independence, and the end of Bhagavad Gita, 1866, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. Just give up everything and surrender unto me. If this surrender is natural, why would Krishna say you should do this? No, surrendering to Krishna is not natural in our material conditioned state. We have to learn it. Therefore, we must hear from a bona fide spiritual master, Krishna or his authorized representative, and follow his instructions. This will bring us to the stage of full enlightenment in Krishna consciousness. Haribol. Okay, now let's go to Siksastakam prayers. Cheto darpanam arjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreyah kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivartanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna sankirtanam namnamakari bahudani cha sarva shaktis tatrarpitani amita smaranena kala etadrisi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivami drishamiha janina nurakaha Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari natanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktirahai tukhi tvayi Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam budau kripaya tava pada pankaja stita duli sadr samvichintaya Nayanam kaladashrudaraya vadanam kadgada rudaya gira pulakarnishitam vapu kada tavanam grihane bhavishyati Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravirsha itam shunya itam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me ashlishyava padaratam pinashtumam adarshanan marmahatam karotu va yatha tata va vidatu lambato matpranana dastu saevana praha. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In that state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Hare Krishna, Sri Siksastakam ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan
Jai,
jai, Panchatattva
Jai,
Nityananda Prabhu ki jai,
Jai,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai,
Jai,
Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu Dantas Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
You joined just when we finish this. Let's see.
Yeah, I just realized it was too late that it was already you were reciting the Sikshastakam.
Yes, Prabhu, but you can read this next chapter if you want.
Yeah, sure. Wait a minute. I will find a better place. I'm at my sister's. So,
Yes, Prabhu.
here. Yes. All right. And thank you for letting me read so I didn't miss the whole session.
Yeah, this was nice. So we get to hear some extra.
All right. 6.2. The myth of scarcity. All right. I will. How can I get that screen? Okay. Contrary to popular belief, current statistics show that the Earth produces enough food to easily support its entire population. Yet greed and exploitation force over 25% of the world's people to be underfed and undernourished. Srila Prabhupada condemns unnecessary industrialization for contributing to the problem of hunger and for creating unemployment, pollution, and a host of other problems. In the following speech, recorded on May 2nd, 1973 in Los Angeles, he advocates a simpler, more natural, God-centered lifestyle. Ime jana padasritta supakvaushadi viruda vanatrinatjaudan vanto jedante tava viiksitai. Queen Kunti said, all these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance and the trees are full of fruits The rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth, and this is all due to your glancing over them. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.40. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we increase such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a select few can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts such as grains and vegetables, fruits, rivers, the hills of jewels and minerals, the seas full of pearls are supplied by the order of the Supreme, and as he desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. The natural law is that the human being may take advantage of these godly gifts of nature and thus satisfactorily flourish without being captivated by the exploitative motive of lording it over material nature. The more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims, the more we shall become entrapped by the reaction of such exploitative attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables, and herbs, then what is the necessity of running a slaughterhouse and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river waters fertilizes the fields. There is more than what we need. Minerals are produced in the hills and jewels in the ocean. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, milk, etc., then why should we hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of the labor of some unfortunate men? But all these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of the Lord and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. The indications by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon her and her sons so that natural prosperity will be maintained by his grace. Kunti Devi mentions that the grains are abundant, the trees full of fruits, the rivers flowing nicely, the hills full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. But she never mentions that industry and slaughterhouses are flourishing, for such things are nonsense that men have developed to create problems. If we depend on God's creation, there will be no scarcity, but simply ananda, bliss. God's creation provides sufficient grains and grass, and while we eat the grains and fruits, the animals like the cows will eat the grass. The bulls will help us produce grains, and they will take only a little, being satisfied with what we throw away. If we take fruit and throw away the skin, the animal will be satisfied with the skin. In this way, with Krishna in the center, there can be full cooperation between the trees, animals, human beings, and all living entities. This is Vedic civilization, a civilization of Krishna consciousness. Kunti Devi prays to the Lord. This prosperity is due to your glance. When we sit in the temple of Krishna, Krishna glances over us, and everything is nice. When sincere souls try to become Krishna's devotees, Krishna very kindly comes before them in his full opulence and glances upon them, and they become happy and beautiful. Similarly, the whole material creation is due to Krishna's glance. Sakshay Aikshata. In the Vedas, it is said that he glanced over matter, thus agitating it. A woman in touch with a man becomes agitated and becomes pregnant and then gives birth to children. The whole creation follows a similar process. Simply by Krishna's glance, matter becomes agitated and then becomes pregnant and gives birth to the living entities. It is simply by his glance that plants, trees, animals, and all other living beings come forth. How is this possible? Now, none of us can say, simply by glancing over my wife, I can make her pregnant. But although this is impossible for us, it is not impossible for Krishna. The Brahma Samhita 5.32 says, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. Every part of Krishna's body has all the capabilities of the other parts. I'm sorry. With our eyes, we can only see But Krishna can make others pregnant merely by looking at them. There is no need of sex, for simply by glancing, Krishna can create pregnancy. In Bhagavad Gita 9.10, Lord Krishna says, Maya Chaksena Prakriti Suyate Sachara Charam. By my supervision, material nature gives birth to all moving and non-moving beings. The word Aksha means eyes, so Akshena indicates that all living entities take birth because of the Lord's clans. There are two kinds of living entities, the moving beings like insects, animals, and human beings, and the non-moving beings like trees and plants. In Sanskrit, these two kinds of living entities are called Stavara Jangama. They both come forth from material nature. Of course, what comes from material nature is not the life, but the body. The living entities accept particular types of bodies from material nature, just as a child takes its body from its mother. For 10 months, the child's body develops from the blood and nutrients of the mother's body. But the child is a living entity, not matter. It is the living entity that has taken shelter in the womb of the mother, who then supplies the ingredients for the living entity's body. This is nature's way. The mother may not know how from her body another body has been created, but when the body of the child is fit, the child takes birth. It is not that the living entity takes birth. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Najayate mriyate va. The living entity neither takes birth nor dies. That which does not take birth does not die. Death is meant for that which has been created, and that which is not created has no death. The Gita says, Najayate mriyate va karachit. The word karachit means at any time. At no time does the living entity actually take birth. Although we may see that the child is born, actually it is not born. Nityas Shashvato Yam Purana. The living entity is eternal, Shashvata, always existing and very, very old, Purana. Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Don't think that when the body is destroyed, the living entity will be destroyed. No, the living entity will continue to exist. A scientist friend once asked me, what is the proof of the soul's eternality? Krishna says, Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Bhagavad Gita 2.20. The soul is not killed when the body is killed. The statement in itself is proof. This type of proof is called Shruti, the proof established by that which is heard through the disciplic succession from the Supreme. One form of proof is proof by logic, Nyaya Prasthana. One can get knowledge by logic, arguments, and philosophical research. But another form of proof is Shruti, proof established by hearing from authorities. A third form of proof is Smriti, proof established by statements derived from the Shruti. The Puranas are Smriti, the Upanishads are Shruti, and the Vedanta is Nyaya. Of these three, the Shruti Prasthana, or the evidence from the Shruti, is especially important. Prataksha, the process of receiving knowledge through direct perception, has no value because our senses are all imperfect. For example, to us the sun looks like a small disk, but in fact it is many times larger than Earth. So what is the value of our direct perception through our eyes? We have so many senses through which we can experience knowledge, the eyes, the ears, the nose, and so on. But because these senses are imperfect, whatever knowledge we get by exercising these senses is also imperfect. Because scientists try to understand things by exercising their imperfect senses, their conclusions are always imperfect. Svarupa Damodara, the scientist among our disciples, inquired from a fellow scientist who says that life comes from matter. If I give you the chemicals with which to produce life, will you be able to produce it? The scientist replied, that I do not know. This is imperfect knowledge. If you do not know, then your knowledge is imperfect. Why then have you become a teacher? That is cheating. Our contention is that to become perfect, one must take lessons from the perfect teacher. Krishna is perfect, so we take knowledge from him. Krishna says, Nahanyate hanyamane sharire, Bhagavad Gita 2.20. The soul does not die when the body dies. Therefore, this understanding that the soul is eternal and the body is temporary is perfect. Kunti Devi says, Ime jana padas fritta supakvaushadi viruta. The grains are abundant, the trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, the oceans are full of wealth. What more could one want? The oyster produces pearls, and formerly people decorated their bodies with pearls, valuable stones, silk, gold, and silver. But where are those things now? Now, with the advancement of civilization, there are so many beautiful girls who have no ornaments of gold, pearls, or jewels, but only plastic bangles. So, what is the use of industrial slaughterhouses? By God's arrangement, one can have enough food grains, enough milk, enough fruits and vegetables, and nice clear river water. Now I have seen, while traveling in Europe, that all the rivers there have become nasty. In Germany, in France, and also in Russia and America, I have seen that the rivers are nasty. By nature's way, the water in the ocean is kept clear like crystal, and the same water is transferred to the rivers, but without salt, so that one may take nice water from the river. This is nature's way, and nature's way means Krishna's way. So, what is the use of constructing huge waterworks to supply water? Nature has already given us everything. If we want wealth, we may collect pearls and become rich. There is no need to become rich by starting some huge factory to produce auto bodies. By such industrial enterprises, we have simply created troubles. Otherwise, we need only depend on Krishna and Krishna's mercy, because by Krishna's glance, Tava Vikshitai, everything is set right. So if we simply plead for Krishna's glance, there will be no question of scarcity or need. Everything will be complete. The idea of Krishna conscious movement, therefore, is to depend on nature's gifts and the grace of Krishna. People say that the population is increasing and therefore they are checking this by our artificial means. Why? The birds and beasts are increasing their population and have no contraceptives, but are they in need of food? Do we ever see birds or animals dying for want of food? Perhaps in the city, although not very often. But if we go to the jungle, we shall see that all the elephants, lions, tigers, and other animals are very stout and strong. Who is supplying them with food? Some of them are vegetarians, and some of them are non-vegetarians, but none of them are in want of food. Of course, by nature's way, the tiger, being a non-vegetarian, does not get food every day. After all, who will face a tiger to become its food? Who will say to the tiger, "Sir, I am an altruist and have come to you to give you food, so take my body"? No one. Therefore, the tiger has difficulty finding food. And as soon as the tiger is out, there is an animal that follows it and makes a sound like fayo, fayo, so that the other animals will know now the tiger is out. So by nature's way, the tiger has difficulty, but still Krishna supplies it food. After about a week, the tiger will get the chance to catch an animal, and because it does not get fresh food daily, it will keep the carcass in some bush and eat a little at a time. Since the tiger is very powerful, people want to become like a lion or a tiger. But that is not a very good proposition, because if one actually becomes like a tiger, one won't get food daily, but will have to search for food with great labor. If one becomes a vegetarian, however, one will get food every day. The food for a vegetarian is available everywhere. Now in every city there are slaughterhouses, but does this mean that the slaughterhouse can supply enough so that one can live by eating only meat? No, there will not be an adequate supply. Even meat eaters have to eat grains, fruits, and vegetables along with their slice of meat. Still, for that daily slice of meat, they kill so many poor animals. How sinful is this? If people commit such sinful activities, how can they be happy? This killing should not be done, but because it is being done, people are unhappy. However, if one becomes Krishna conscious and simply depends on Krishna's glance, Tava Vikshitai, Krishna will supply everything and there will be no question of scarcity. Sometimes there appears to be scarcity, and sometimes we find that grains and fruits are produced in such a huge quantity that people cannot finish eating them. So this is a question of Krishna's glance. If Krishna likes, he can produce a huge quantity of grains, fruits, and vegetables. But if Krishna desires to restrict the supply, what good will meat do? You may eat me or I may eat you, but that will not solve the problem. For real peace and tranquility and a sufficient supply of milk, water, and everything else we need, we simply have to depend on Krishna. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakura teaches us when he says, Marapi Rakapi, Yo Icha Tohara. My dear Lord, I simply surrender unto you and depend on you. Now, if you like, you may kill me, or else you may give me protection. And Krishna says in reply, yes, Sarva Dharman Parijya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Simply surrender exclusively unto me. He does not say, yes, depend on me and also depend on your slaughterhouses and factories. No, he says, depend only on me. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishmayami. I'll rescue you from the results of your sinful activities. Because we have lived so many years without being Krishna conscious, we have lived only a sinful life. But Krishna assures us that as soon as one surrenders to him, he immediately squares all accounts and puts an end to all one's sinful activities, so that one may begin a new life. When we initiate disciples, we therefore tell them, now the account is squared, now don't commit sinful activities anymore. One should not think that because the holy name of Krishna can nullify sinful activities, one may commit a little sinful activity and chant Hare Krishna to nullify it. That is the greatest offense. Namno balad yasyahi papa buddhi. The members of some religious orders go to church and confess their sins, but then they again commit the same sinful activities. What then is the value of their confession? One may confess, my Lord, out of my ignorance I committed this sin. But one should not plan, I shall commit sinful activities and then go to church and confess them, and then the sins will be nullified and I can begin a new chapter of sinful life. Similarly, one should not knowingly take advantage of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra to nullify sinful activities so that one may then begin sinful acts again. We should be very careful. Before taking initiation, one promises to have no illicit sex, no intoxicants, no gambling, and no meat eating. And this vow one should strictly follow. Then one will be clean. If one keeps oneself clean in this way and always engages in devotional service, his life will be a success and there will be no scarcity of anything he wants. Wow, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading. Yeah, Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for association also and listening for the whole thing.
Oh.
1 second. Yes, we already read 6 as the compare, so we don't have to read it again. Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay, see you, Prabhu, tomorrow. I need to go do the dishes.
See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Haribol.
Haribol.